Hey guys, what's up? It's Lucy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today's video is very exciting and it's one that I've been thinking about making for a really long time, and I finally feel ready to talk about this very publicly. So thank you guys for being here and thank you for being patient with me. If you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe and like the video so you can keep up to date with all my content. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted on my 21st birthday, which was October 11th, that I am sober. And I got sober, my last date of use was December 21st of 2020, so I posted that I was sober at about 9 months. Ever since I got sober, that was like the one thing I was thinking about a lot, was like when I'm kind of gonna bring this to social media, when I'm gonna feel comfortable talking about it, just because a lot of my mental health journey has been documented online and I've shared like a lot of very intimate aspects of my life with all of my viewers, and you guys are always so like receptive, and it just makes it feel like it's all kind of like worth it, I guess. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that I posted about my sobriety, and I felt like that was like the best time to post because it was my 21st birthday and I really didn't want to receive like texts and DMs being like, I hope you black out tonight and drink so much, you know. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna post about this so everyone knows. And at that point, only my close friends knew, or just kind of like people in my life. It really wasn't something that was very public. And so yeah, now I'm gonna talk about it. I posted and asked you guys to ask me questions about my sobriety, and this could be a 45-minute video, but I'm gonna try and not make it too long and just kind of share my story and tell you guys what I've been going through for the past year, just because this past year has definitely been the hardest year of my life, but also the best year of my life because I got sober and it was really fucking hard, and I'm just so grateful for my support system, my community, and I don't know, everything. I'm very grateful. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. And I've been really scared to post this just because even in my real life, I've experienced a lot of like negative feedback from my sobriety, and it has been mostly positive, like don't get me wrong, but I know that people often put judgment on other people based on whatever they want to do with their life. And so I've experienced a lot of that with my sobriety. So I'm just, whatever, we're gonna make the video. Where do I start? Okay, I'm Lucy, I'm a drug addict, and I have substance use disorder. So I started doing drugs maybe like high school. It was chill, we were chilling, I was drinking too. And then when I got to college was when things really kicked off for me. My drug of choice is weed, which was a large reason why I was scared to post this video, just because I've had a lot of people kind of like invalidate my experience with addiction because it is weed. So I don't need those comments. I don't need anyone fighting me on this. I know my life, I know my story, and yeah. I just felt the need to say that just because I've dealt with that a lot and I just don't really feel like dealing with that right now. Anyways, my drug of choice was weed, and so when I went to college, I started smoking weed a lot. You know, I went to school in California, I got a med card, and towards the last half of my freshman year was when I really realized I started to have like a dependency on weed, and I would kind of smoke every day. I also have ADD, so I would take ADD medication and it would kind of help me sleep, and it was fine until it like wasn't fine, and until I was kind of like lying to the people in my life about how much I smoked, and I was feeling the desire to smoke a lot more, but still we were at like a manageable level, okay? So I come home from summer, freshman year, and I had been seeing a therapist at this point. I've seen a therapist since my junior year of high school, and I start talking to her about it, and she's kind of like, okay, you need to stop. And I'm like, okay, vibes, you're so right. I'm really not happy. I'm really depressed. My anxiety's through the roof. Like, I need to stop. So I come back to school the end of summer, sophomore year, and I'm kind of like, okay, I'm not smoking. And then I start smoking again. And at this point, we're going from, I start smoking, you know, just at night. I'm like, you know what? I can control myself now. I'm just going to smoke at night. Vibes, not going to smoke in the morning. And then that slowly turned into just smoke at night to 3 p.m. to 12 p.m. to, and then I started smoking earlier in the day, and then I tried to stop and I couldn't. So I smoked all my sophomore year. I really couldn't quit, even though I wanted to, and I really wasn't happy, and I was just really lethargic, and I was, my appetite was dependent on it, and this whole thing. Fast forward to COVID. COVID is March of sophomore year. First thing that comes into my mind is, oh, thank God, I have to go home. I won't be able to smoke weed. That was not true. I came home and smoked a lot more weed than I even did at school, especially because it was the pandemic. There wasn't anything to do. I was just home smoking weed all the time. And it got really bad. It got really, really, really bad. And then that summer, I start talking to my therapist again. It's like June, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to quit again. Quit for like a month, 2 months. Then I go back to school my junior year, and I start again. And it's the same thing. I start smoking at night, and then it got to a point where my junior year was when it got uncontrollable, and I was high all the time. I wasn't eating at all because my metabolism was so dependent on this drug. I was just high all the time, and no one knew. That was another thing, is that I had such a high tolerance that no one knew, and so I was hiding it from everyone. I was hiding it from my girlfriend at the time, my best friends. I was not sleeping. I was waking up at 5 a.m. to smoke again and then go back to sleep. I was smoking constantly. I was constantly high, and I was so embarrassed of it, and I had no control over it. I would say, okay, I'm going to take a tolerance break, and I couldn't do it. And that happened so many times throughout my years of smoking, where I said, I'm going to take a tolerance break, and then I couldn't quit. And I just could not do it. I was so dependent on this drug, and I was so mentally addicted that I couldn't do life without it. And, I could go into so many kind of like details telling the trajectory of my addiction, but basically my junior year, which was last year, it got really bad, and I was just smoking so much. I had no intuition. I had no like voice of my own, because my brain was so like fried from this drug. I didn't really know what I wanted. I had no drive. I had no ambition. I was so depressed. Every single day I didn't want to get up in the morning. I had no desire to do anything. My anxiety was horrendous. And, I went through a lot of kind of difficult things last year that I coped with weed. And just for years, I just coped by numbing myself. And it just got to the point where I was numbing and numbing and numbing every hour of the day. I would smoke during class. I'd smoke before class. I would take Vyvanse, so then it would offset the weed, and then I would just smoke more. And it was just, I was lying to myself. I was lying to everyone in my life. I was a horrible friend. I lost a lot of friendships. I had shitty relationships with people in my family. I don't even know. It's difficult to talk about, because I just like hate the person I was, and I just said so many things that I like didn't mean. I was talking shit about people all the time. I was just in a really like bad place, and I really was like not myself. My parents are like walking around, and so I'm like, they can hear me talking about this. I just hated myself. Like, it came down to that I just fucking hated myself. I hated everything about myself. I wasn't eating because I couldn't eat. I was so skinny. And I was so, oh my God, it was horrible. It was literally horrible. And yeah, I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I would smoke to eat. And then that didn't work. So I was smoking all day until 5 p.m. That's when I would finally get hungry. And then still I would have to smoke in between my dinner to then eat more. So it was just this like really unhealthy cycle of like, everything in my life was crumbling down. I was basically failing out of school. I don't know how I like managed to, I wasn't learning anything. I was losing friendships. I was losing all ambition to live. So that was like my breaking point. So I had a lot of breaking points, and I knew I was addicted. Like, I knew since the end of my freshman year that I had a difficult relationship with drugs, and I couldn't quit on my own. And I kind of thought, when my therapist first kind of told me, like, my sophomore year that, like, you need to quit, like, you should go sober, like, I know some programs you could go to, I was like, that's bullshit. Like, I just need to take a break. Like, I just need to take a break and then I can start again. But, what I kind of learned through that was I will never have a normal relationship with this drug because I can't do it. Like, I am addicted. And so that was a big realization for me, especially when I came home for Thanksgiving break. That's when I realized I needed, like, serious help, was when I didn't want to get up in the morning. So many aspects of my life were being ruined by this drug and I didn't have control over it and I couldn't quit on my own. I came back for break and I said, I'm going to quit now, and then I made it 5 days and I was having severe panic attacks and I couldn't sleep and I couldn't eat, and I said, okay, I'm going to start smoking again because I had lost all my coping skills because I was so reliant on this drug that I had no way to cope with my emotions without it. And, like, that was really difficult. So what ends up happening in December is I post a YouTube video. I don't know if anyone remembers it. It was like a Q&A. I was not good. It is deleted off my channel, but I was very depressed. And I posted this video, and my therapist at the time, who I had been ghosting for 4 or 5 months, watches it, texts me. She's like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, girly, yeah. And I'm like, I remember calling Megan and being like, my therapist just texted me, what do I do? And then Megan was like, you should see her. And I was like, I can't see her. That's so embarrassing. I've been ghosting her. And then, anyways, I went through phases of ghosting my therapist throughout the years when I was not doing well, when I was doing drugs and whatever. And so, anyways, I booked a session with her in December. And I'm like, hey, I really need help. And she's like, okay, let's figure out a plan of action. What are we going to do? And so a lot of people asked, like, when did you realize you needed help? What was your breaking point? And, I had a lot of, like, breaking points. But last fall, about like a year ago, was when I really was like, I cannot live like this. I am gonna, like, do something. Like, I'm so unhappy that, like, I don't think I can survive, basically. During the therapy session, she's like, okay, this is our plan of action. You can either go to in-person rehab or do a intensive outpatient program. And so I was like, ooh, I'm not going to rehab. I was like, the fuck? Like, I can't do that. Like, I'm too high maintenance for that. I'm such a piece of shit. And so, anyways, at that point, I had not smoked for like 5 days. So I was like, you know what? I want to do an intensive outpatient program, which is like 4 hours of group therapy a day online. I want to do that. And then if I can't handle that, and if I, need more help, then I will go away for inpatient rehab, right? So I ended up doing an intensive outpatient program, which was about 12 hours of group therapy a week, plus, meetings with my recovery coach almost every day, and then therapy every week, and then meeting with my psychiatrist. So January to March, that was what I was doing every single day. So I was only taking one college class. I only took one college class in the spring as well because I was really doing therapy. But it was like the best thing I've ever done. So that was amazing. And at first, I was very like against the idea of group therapy because I was like, ugh, none of these people get me or whatever. And then I realized addicts and alcoholics have a lot in common, and you will relate to people. And so that was kind of like a big realization for me. It was like, wow, I am not alone in this. There are a lot of people who experience the same thing, and holy fuck, like, we are all so similar, as in drug addicts. And that was so interesting. Was another question was like, what did you learn about yourself? And I learned a fuck ton about myself, I'll tell you that. But a lot of it was that, like, being a drug addict, it's not just, singled down to like your drug of choice. It applies to so many aspects of your life where, like, I am addicted to chaos. My life was in a state of chaos for so long that now that I'm sober, I'm like, ugh, my life is very simple and boring, but that is like what's good. And so I am kind of addicted to chaos. I'm a little impulsive, which I guess that has to do with my ADD as well. But basically, it just applies to a lot of aspects of your life. And yeah. One of the hardest conversations was sitting down with my parents after I had that therapy session with my therapist, when we kind of figured out that I was going to do an intensive outpatient program and tell them that I am addicted to drugs. And that was really difficult because they didn't know. Like I said, my friends didn't know. Like, some of my friends kind of knew. They were like, oh, you should probably stop doing that. But they didn't like really know because I was lying to everyone in my life, basically, and hiding how I was feeling. I was very good at that. It's just kind of like pushing it all away. Like I said, I was numbing and suppressing for so long. Then when I finally got sober, I had to like face the reality of my life. So I had to sit down with them and tell them like, hey, I am a drug addict, I need a lot of help, and I probably shouldn't go back to school for a little bit. But that was a whole nother thing, was figuring out when I was gonna go back to school, whether I was gonna move back to my house with 16 people. And so that's why I actually moved into an apartment by myself, if you guys have been watching my vlogs, because I couldn't move back into a house with other people who were, drinking and doing drugs, which is like what everyone does in college. And so I had to live by myself. And I was gonna go into a sober living house, and then I blatantly rejected that, which that is a great option for a lot of people. And I think I was just kind of being like a stubborn piece of shit because I didn't want to do that. But my situation is very different than other people's. So sober living is a great option for a lot of people. But I was grateful enough that I could do my intensive outpatient program here at home. That's why I was home for so long. And my parents put all the alcohol away in the house and were just very supportive and kind of created an environment where I could heal, which I am so grateful for. And I'm like very aware that not a lot of people have that privilege. So that was very grateful. And I had a lot of help from professionals through the IOP program. My clinician, my therapist, my psychiatrist, my recovery coach, I had a whole team of people who really helped me, and that was very essential for my recovery. Another question, are you sober from everything? Yes, I am sober from everything. And when I started the program, they said, okay, you have to be sober from everything while doing this. And I was kind of like, I have ADD, I need to take my ADD medication, which I've never struggled with. I actually don't really like taking it, so I've never dealt with abusing that, thank God. So I was approved to take my ADD medication during the program, but I couldn't drink alcohol. Which I was like, all right, chill. I'm getting drug tested anyways, whatever. And then it was very interesting because my first few weeks getting sober, I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to be sober from everything for now, but then I'll be able to drink alcohol later because I never struggled with alcohol. I struggled with drugs. So I was like, all right, can't do drugs, but I can drink. And then my first week or two getting sober, I had bad cravings, but I wasn't craving weed, I was craving alcohol, which that was like a ding, ding, ding in my brain where I was like, oh, this is not unique to this one drug. You are craving something that will make you stop feeling this way. You are craving some way to numb out and escape your life, and you can't do that anymore. And so I was craving alcohol. Like, I wanted alcohol so badly, and that was a huge realization for me where I was like, okay, I can't fuck with this. Like, it is not worth it. I am using this as another route to escape. And, something they say in AA a lot is like, it's not one glass, it's the whole bottle. I never related to that because I was like, okay, well, I struggled with weed. It's not one bowl, it's like the whole eighth, you know what I mean? And so, it was hard for me because I felt like I was like, well, that's not my problem. I can handle that. And now, like, I get drug tested every week. I am sober from everything, and I do not plan on introducing alcohol back in my life. I know things change, but I just see that as like, if I drink, my anxiety the next day is going to be higher, and that takes me one step closer to possibly relapsing again. And so it's not worth putting anything in my body that's going to make me relapse. And so, yeah. I am sober from everything, and that was craving alcohol was a big deal for me when I was like, oh, fuck, I got a problem. But anyways, now we kind of get into relationship things and college. So I'm a senior in college. Big thing was dealing with friends who aren't sober. So they say, the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's community, which is so true. It is very, very important to have a community of people and to go to meetings and to meet other, especially young, sober people if you are young. Community has been really helpful for me. I still struggle with going to enough meetings and building a community. So if you're sober, DM me, let me know what meetings you like to go to. But that is really important. But in terms of friends in college, I did deal with losing a lot of friends, especially those who I kind of only did drugs with or only drank with, party friends. And so that was something I was okay losing, because I was if I still hold on to those relationships, it's not going to end well for me. And something my therapist always says is you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get your hair cut, which I was I can't be going into these environments where they're doing these things, because soon enough, I'm going to get my hair cut. If I keep living my life the same way I was living it, I'm going to relapse. It's not a question, it's going to happen. I need to change my life. And it doesn't have to be these huge life changes, but you need to change things, or else you're going to fall back into those old patterns of behavior because they're familiar and they feel good or whatever. So dealing with friends who aren't sober. So I'm very lucky that the people I hang out with do not do drugs, really, especially the people I hang out with in college. Megan, my best friend, she has been so supportive throughout my whole sobriety, and I actually live with her right now, and she knows no drugs or alcohol in the house. She doesn't do anything around me. I don't really ask what she does when she's not around me, but we're together all the time. And so I'm so grateful to have her in my life, because she has been the most supportive person, and I don't even know if I would still be here without her. I don't know, she just absolutely was always there for me, and I could talk to her about anything, and she would come to things with me and never drink and always be my sober buddy, and I can't thank her enough for that. So thank you, Megan. You seriously changed my life. I owe so much to you. I can't be friends with someone who smokes weed all the time. I just cannot. I can't be friends with someone who drinks all the time. It just will not work. And it's difficult for me, especially going into new settings in college where I don't know if there's going to be drugs or I don't know if there's going to be alcohol, but it has gotten easier. For the first 6 months of my sobriety, I did not go to any sort of party. I didn't do anything like that. For the first 3 months, I was kind of alone in my house, to be honest, which made it a lot easier. But I could not be around any of it. And even now, I don't mind when people drink around me. When people are super drunk around me, that's kind of different. But I don't really mind if people drink around me in a party setting. It's kind of I can leave whenever I want to. But weed is difficult for me, and it's a lot more triggering. So yeah, with friends, it's easier to be friends with people who don't really drink or don't really do drugs and don't put that as a high priority in their life, because I don't have to worry about much. But yeah, it does make it really hard being in college, and people ask kind of tips about sobriety in college, which I don't know if I'm going to make a whole different video on, but it helps living with a few people or living by yourself, not having anything in the house. That is absolutely cannot do that. I don't trust myself. And so, yeah, it is difficult when you realize you can't be friends with certain people, or what you want isn't exactly what's good for you. And so, yeah, I kind of I don't really go out that much. Anytime I go out is when I know where it's going to be. I kind of know who's going to be there. I know there are people who are there who know and support me. And, I drink my little kombucha and I have something in my hand, or my non-alcoholic beer or whatever it is, and people don't really question it. And so that's nice. It's difficult in more intimate settings where people know you're not drinking, and there's always why aren't you drinking? And there's that whole thing, which I kind of talk about on TikTok a little bit. But I have I don't know if you would say grown apart from, or distanced myself from people who I used to be friends with, or I just can't really relate to them as much anymore because they kind of drink a lot. And it sucks because I'm 21, and it's I hate the fact that I have to think about that, but at the end of the day, my sobriety has given me so much to be grateful for, and has given me my life back, that I wouldn't trade it for anything. My sobriety is the most important thing in my life above anything else, because I would not be here if I hadn't have chosen to get sober. So it's worth it. Like, I'm so happy. I wake up every single day. First of all, I sleep well every single night. I wake up every single day and I just say, like, thank you. I just say, you know, universe, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And, you know, I make mistakes, I fuck up, but at the end of the day, I'm making mistakes soberly, and I can own up to those things and, you know, hold myself accountable. And when I was doing drugs, I couldn't. I was not held accountable for my actions. I didn't really care because I was numbing out every single day. And now I'm not numb, and I have to feel the pain of things, and it sucks. But, you know, there's a level of emotional maturity that you gain from being sober. And so, you know, I wouldn't trade that for the world. I understand myself so much more, and I have grown more than I have in my entire life in the past year. And, you know, I wouldn't trade that for the world. I'm so happy that I can be present in my everyday life. And I never had that before. And now I'm grateful for such little things. And, you know, I don't suffer from panic attacks anymore. And sure, I get anxious when things happen, but I have coping skills now, and I don't turn to drugs anymore. And I'm not trying to escape. I have to face the things in my life. And sure, I can escape by, you know, online shopping or binge watching Netflix or whatever that is. And those are, like, also, you know, things you can do to, I don't know, escape or numb out, but, like, it's not drugs and it's not alcohol. And that's just, like, what I'm really grateful for. With relationships, dating someone who is not sober, which this is a huge topic, especially in rehab and in recovery, because they push, you know, do not be in a relationship when you first get sober. You need to put all your energy into yourself. And I was in a relationship when I got sober, and for the first, 6 months of my sobriety. And I kind of felt like it was fine just because I had been in a long-term relationship. I wasn't like, I'm going to break up with you just because I am now getting sober. But it is very difficult being in a relationship with someone who is not sober when you are sober, especially in early recovery, like first year or two. I mean, I don't know. I'm at 11 months right now, so I can't really speak for, like, my future recovery, but it is very difficult being with someone who isn't sober. And I'm not in a relationship anymore, but I do just want to say, like, you should never feel like you are asking for, like, a favor for someone to not drink or not do drugs around you, or, like, feel like a burden, or feel like your sobriety is a burden. This goes for friendship relationships, dating, you know, relationships, but that's just, like, my biggest piece of advice is, like, you shouldn't push away things that you need in your recovery to be with someone else, or just kind of, like, not prioritize your sobriety, basically. And, you know, I'm not saying that's, like, exactly how I felt in my relationship. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my advice for the future. And I don't know. I'm trying to not be, like, too specific when I say these things, but your sobriety shouldn't feel like a burden, and you shouldn't feel like you're asking someone a favor to not drink around you, and you should feel very comfortable to speak to your partner very openly about what you need in your sobriety. And so that's just something I kind of wish I knew earlier, and kind of, like, listen to myself when I knew what I needed. And also, a big part of being in a relationship while you're sober is that you change a lot, and you are becoming a totally different person than you were when you were doing drugs all the time. And, you know, that might make you grow apart from someone or grow closer to, like, I don't know. Basically, just be patient with yourself and understand that you are changing, your life is changing, and you need to make sacrifices that, you know, might not feel great in the moment, but you know is, like, the best thing for you. And I think that kind of ties in with giving up certain things that you had in your life of active use and moving towards a life of sobriety and recovery. And you can't escape from things. You can't really push things away anymore and think, oh, well, that's fine. Like, you know, it's just like that. Like, when you're sober, you really have to look at these things and realize, like, oh, that was very unhealthy. I shouldn't be doing that anymore. Or the way I was treating them really wasn't okay. And you have to face those things. And, you know, I have a lot of shame and embarrassment about things I did. when I was in active use in my relationship, and it's very hard to like move past those things. Obviously you need to acknowledge those and apologize for those things, but I don't know. It's just very difficult. So I think it is definitely possible to be in a relationship with someone who is not sober. And, but I think that communication has to be there, and there has to be full transparency. And, you know, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. That's what I'm going to say, is that it is difficult being in a romantic relationship with someone who's not sober, especially when you are in early sobriety. It's not impossible, but it is difficult. That's all I'm going to talk about dating. A lot of people asked, you know, do you still have fun being sober? I am a million times more fun now that I'm sober, and I can say that for a fact. I am so much more fun. I am funnier. I'm friendlier. I'm much nicer. I'm a lot nicer. I'm so many other things. I'm more driven. I'm more courteous. I'm more passionate. All the good adjectives. Like, I'm just such a better person because I fucking hated myself when I was doing all these drugs. And I was, you know, I was so powerless. Drugs like ruled my life. It ruled like all my decision making and like everything. So yeah, my 1 year sober is on December 21st, which is a big deal, and I can't believe it's already been a year. I have literally like wanted to talk about this online for so long, and I just like haven't been ready, or I've been nervous, and it's like scary telling your story, and I don't know, it's like I want to include so many details so I'm not like discredited, because I've dealt with that a lot in like my daily life. But the people who love me and support me will support me, and that's kind of it. And it really helped me watching people talk about their sobriety stories and how they got help and their struggles with addiction when I was getting sober. That was kind of like all the media I consumed. It's all I watched on TV. It's all the podcasts I listened to, all the books I read. So that's why it was really hard being active on YouTube, because I was like, I'm reading Russell Brand's book on recovery. Like, why are you reading Freedoms from Your Addictions? Like, are you good? So it was like just little things like that I had a hard time like figuring out how to like share this online, especially because I wasn't that confident in my sobriety for the first 2 months, definitely. And I was dealing with a lot of fluctuating emotions. And I was just in a really bad place because it was really difficult, and it was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. But, you know, I'm at the point in my life where I feel really fucking proud of myself, and I am present every day, and I'm not doing stupid shit that I regret. And maybe I do stupid shit, but I, you know, can at least own it. And, the people in my life, I am just very happy that they're still in my life and support me. And sobriety really allows you to like reevaluate what's important in your life and kind of figure out what's valuable to you and what's not, and what is unhealthy and what is toxic. And yeah, so I'm just in a really, really good place right now. The past couple months have been quite difficult. I'm just grateful for every day that I'm here, and I'm grateful that I have the coping skills to move through life, and that I'm, you know, doing well in school and have really good relationships. And yeah, so yeah, and I'm just happy to talk to you guys about this. And comment down below anything. I read all your comments, and so I love interacting with you guys in the comment section. I have tried to keep up with my DMs, but I have been kind of bad at it recently. But if I haven't answered your DM me again and I'll probably answer. But yeah, follow me on Instagram if you don't. I've been posting more like sobriety content ever since I kind of talked about being sober, just because it's a huge fucking part of my life and I love talking about it. So yeah, if you guys have more questions, like I definitely will make more videos about this. This just kind of like scratched the surface, and I didn't want to post like an 1.5 hour long video of me telling my life story. But if you do have more specific questions, or you want me to kind of dive more into like college, being sober at UCSB, I would love to answer those questions. And I'm just so grateful that you guys are here and support me. And I can't thank you guys enough for letting me feel like comfortable talking about this on my platform. And you guys have always made me feel that way and been very patient with me. And I'm so happy for this like community we have built of people. So yeah, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. I've been quite active on TikTok recently, and definitely subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you found it enjoyable, me talking for a very long time. Okay, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys very soon with more videos. Hopefully finals content. I have finals this week and next week, so yeah. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.